look spooked. You've been seeing what the Protoss has to show ya. The memories shine through you as clear as day.
I saw a hybrid. Something unnatural. It was trying to corrupt the Protoss preservers. Who would have sent it there? Who controls something like that?
The one that made them for sure. That was just the first of many. Dark harbingers, man. Soon they'll be beyond numbering. And the stars will weep at what comes after.
How could you know all this?
I don't. I just feel it be true.
I return to our ruined homeworld of Ire. The Zerg infestation still covered much of our beloved world. The desiccated remains of the Overmind were still there, a grim reminder of battles lost and battles won.
I remember the fall of Ire. Don't much like the idea of having to see it all again. Guess there's nothing for it.
At the very apex of its victory against us, the Zerg Overmind grew overconfident. Now, all that was left of the mighty Overmind was a twisted, withered husk. I needed to understand whatever memories lingered within the creature's rotting mass. Only by making contact with the gargantuan tendrils connected directly to its cortex could I learn its secrets. Yet its countless minions, which seemed to be feeding from its dead husk, would prove somewhat problematic. I must find a way to establish a foothold and summon reinforcements to keep the Zerg at bay. En Arudin Rashagal. This faithful observer has kept watch since the evacuation. Its abilities will certainly prove useful now.
All right, welcome back.
You address me.
StarCraft 2 Wings of Liberty, Episode 14, Echoes of the Future. This is the third
Glory
in the
to
prophecy line, where we're psychically accompanying Zeratul and the Protoss and unraveling a rather harrowing prophecy about the future of the universe.
honor. Some of these abandoned structures remain functional. We shall make use of them. Ire will be restored. This ancient beacon still thrums with power. I wonder... I've heard tales of the mighty colossi sealed away beneath Ire. The beacon must have awoken these fearsome guardians. The Zerg perceive a threat to their dead master. The Zerg will keep coming until we are dead. I must find the Overmind's cortex and discover what I can from it.
All right, so here we go. If you remember last time, Zeratul had taken the three pieces of the prophecy to the preservers and he discovered that this kind of twisted hybrid, Zerg Protoss hybrid, had imprisoned them.
If we use our observers wisely, we can scout the area before putting ourselves at risk.
And as for the prophecy, you know, it's less than clear, but
You
it
address
basically
me?
suggested that the Great Devourer, i.e. the Overmind of the Zerg, had a big role to play. So this is why Zeratul has
will
come back to
fulfill
Ire,
my
where
calling.
the Overmind conquered the Protoss.
We must not.
And we're trying to figure out, you know, from the dead husk of
Sukdash
the
Salak.
Overmind, see what we can learn about its
Ire
role
will be
in the prophecy, etc., etc.
We must be prepared to defend our base. The Zerg are on the move. You address me?
Okay, that's the first of several waves of Zerg. You see the timer in the upper right, and the waves will get progressively more and more difficult. So it's a pretty standard kind of turtle mission. Not completely turtle, but you do need to kind of build up here and prepare for waves and defend. And then on the flip side, you need to strike out with Zeratul and get him into those, see those 4 green kind of plus marks on the mini-map? Those are sort of the tendril locations where he needs to kind of tap in and psychically learn from the dead husk what he needs to learn.
You must construct additional pylons.
So a relatively peaceful start to our base building here, and have no fear that won't last, but this is all very standard stuff. Building certain buildings that are prerequisites for others. Essentially, we want to get a lot of Immortals and the Colossi. That's the new unit for this map. The big, tall, walker robots. On a side note, though, this is the first mission that I'm editing since having seen Whispers of Doom, which was the first mission in which I added those color enhancements in, and I was so impressed with it. Remember that day I was texting you like, oh my god, it took 5 hours to render a 30-minute episode. So I just wanted to say now that I'm really happy with it. It takes a lot more time, but I think I'm gradually tweaking and getting these sharpness and color enhancements and all this stuff just right, and I hope you're enjoying that, because I think it makes everything pop, and it makes the game just look so much better.
The Zerg seek to overwhelm us. To arms, my brethren. My meditation is over. In the service of iron.
Base is under attack. Your warriors have engaged the enemy.
I will erase the demons of the past.
Okay, a little bit sloppy there, but keep in mind I only had, I think, 4 Zealots and Zeratul with me. And also the Colossi, they're up on the ridge where they first started the mission. I just leave them there for a while because they do a good job up there. Nothing really hits them, and then they just totally crush everything that comes along. So, a little bit sloppy, but it's going to get better, and a lot of it is I'm more building up base and economy and not actually building army at this point. So that's why I'm so short-handed. The only other thing I want to add with regard to the video editing and enhancements and all that, what you're seeing here, when I'm actually doing base building and fighting and actually playing the missions, that's where I'm adding in like all the color stuff, like saturation and contrast and shadows and shadow heal and all these various categories of kind of lighting and color enhancements. The other parts of the videos and the episodes where we kind of start and we're on the Hyperion and we're talking to Tosh, or you know, talking to Swan in the armory or buying armory upgrades, those parts I don't add all the enhancements to that. I just add the general, you know, video enhancement, which is a basic slider, and that just makes things look really sharp and nice. So on those parts, you're just getting boosted sharpness. But in the actual mission parts with the base building and the combat and everything, these parts here that you're seeing, these are the parts that are getting like the full deluxe package of color enhancements and lighting enhancements and post-processing effects and all that. And I think it's coming along great. It does take a lot more time, but again, I think it's worth it.
The Zerg seek to overwhelm our base. En Arudin.
Upgrade complete. You must construct additional pylons. Base is under attack. Base is under attack.
I will be redeemed.
Okay, up until there, I had been leaving the observers kind of out in little, you know, sentry posts, locations. Observers are invisible, by the way, or they're cloaked, and they can detect cloaked enemies or burrowing enemies like the Nidus worms and stuff like that. And I had left my Colossi up on the ridge, and then I kind of was, you know, selecting this unit, that unit, this group. And what happened there is I finally just hit F2, which is the default for select everything. It doesn't select your workers when you do that, but it selects everything and then just brought them in. So now I have a big clump, which isn't ideal, and it's kind of newbie. One of my weaknesses as an RTS player is relying too much on select all instead of, you know, having good management of different units and groups and control groups and stuff like that. I do some of that, but just not as much as I should. At any rate, from this point on, I'm just about got all my upgrades and my base building, and my economy looks good. I'll do a little expansion shortly, but it's more about photon cannons and defense, and I'm going to be doing, you know, shifting into army building now. And it'll be a lot of just grabbing a clump of, you know, army and striking out and or defending.
You have not enough minerals.
I will be redeemed. These warp gates appear to be functional. Perhaps there's a chance. Maknul? The Zerg are coming. I am the voice of the Eclipse.
And notice there, see that? Colossi can just kind of climb up cliff walls and stuff. They don't have to have a clear path. They can just walk up. And you saw them over there on the right. They're so tall. They just get such great line of sight on everything and such a long range. And watch this. Just watch them decimate these ground units. It's just so awesome. They're just a great unit, and it's fun to finally play with them.
Fulfill my calling. Sukdash Salak. Shozak Maknul.
Mineral field completed. You have not enough mineral. Upgrade complete.
Okay, research-wise, we're going to get 1 Zerg point for each of the 4 tendrils that we take a Zeratul to. That's just the main, mission objective. And then the bonus objective is to power up 2 obelisks, and we'll get a Protoss point each for those. They're hard to see. There's one on the right of the screen right now, just on the outside of the line of sight ring there. See it over there, far right? They don't do anything. It's just you need to have a worker summon a pylon there and give power to it, and then you get a research point. That's it.
My allegiance is yours. The first Overmind tendril. I sense pain, surprise, death. I will erase the demons of the past.
All right, so with this little ledge cleared out, we're going to take the opportunity to expand and build a second base over here, start getting these resources. We've done all right economy-wise, but when you're building things like Immortals and Colossi, those are very, very expensive units. They take lots of minerals, lots of gas, so in order to keep building, we're going to need, to expand like this.
Our base falls under a shadow. The Zerg will attack soon.
Adultorida, Zeratul. We were trapped within the gate's energy matrix when it was deactivated. You have our thanks.
Be redeemed.
Base is under attack. Upgrade complete. Mineral field depleted.
You address me.
Okay, a couple things. The Banelings, the little roly-poly acid explosion balls, which always suck. They did some pretty bad damage. But over here we got those 4 photon cannons up just in time, and they kind of protected our little expansion base up there. I think we lost 1 big Colossus, but no big deal. The other thing is when the pylon became active up there and it powered that warp gate, we were instantly given some more troops, I think 4 stalkers. And they said, thank you, we were trapped in the warp gate's energy or whatever. What a warp gate is I forget the name of the Protoss barracks, but basically where you summon in, your soldiers, like zealots and stalkers and whatnot. You can transform that into a warp gate, and what it'll allow you to do is anywhere where you have a pylon, you can summon a unit that barracks would create within any area that's affected by any of your pylons. So anywhere all over the map, as long as you have a pylon, you can summon in troops. So it's pretty useful. The downside is, unlike a barracks, you can't really like queue up a bunch of, of soldiers to be made and then go back to doing what you're doing. When you use a warp gate and summon things in, I think you can get 2, and like that's it. And then once they're done being summoned in, you can do more. So if you're going to use warp gates, you're going to need a lot of them, and that's what a lot of people do when they play Protoss.
The Zerg are massing near our base. Sukda, I will be redeemed. You address me?
You must construct additional pylons. Your probes are under attack.
our fury.
Base is under attack.
Glory to the Firstborn. I will erase the demons of the past.
Vespene Geyser exhausted.
Okay, pretty good there. Had to break off offense and come back to defend, but we managed to get through it without, losing too much, and nothing seemed to bother our secondary base up there.
Honor commands.
So we're doing all right. All I'm doing now is coming back over here, 'cause this is where the other obelisk is. And you see it there on the left. And quite noobly of me, I put that pylon near the warp gate, which will power it, and that's great, but I didn't put it close enough to the obelisk to get it. I end up noticing later, and then I go back and get it right. So I get the secondary bonus objective and the research from it, but just wanted to let you know that's what I was doing over there, and I kind of screwed up.
I return to serve.
My allegiance is yours.
I am here in the shadows.
In the circle.
So there you see, I realized it, so I'm sending a probe back to power up the obelisk, and I think there's maybe a robotics facility right there as well. And this warp gate, by powering it up, we got 3 Stalkers and a High Templar, so that's nice, because High Templars are good to have in the mix.
You must construct additional pylons. Vespene Geyser exhausted.
Otherwise, you see my force getting pretty big, and there it is, +1 Protoss research, and we're getting close to striking out and just wiping the hell out of the map.
The Zerg seek to overwhelm us. To arms, my brethren.
State thy bidding.
Burdens weigh heavily. My burden.
Okay, I kind of got faked out. I put a few sentries up around and then put my main force to the left because I thought we were going to have to fight to the left, but nothing came from the left, so The good news is, with just the few sentries I posted around, we kind of really handled everything fine.
Address me.
And now we just have a big-ass Protoss strike force. Look at this, Deb. So this is going to be fun, just to go the rest of the way and pretty much, you know, crush ass.
We must not hesitate.
So what happened there is I realized, oh, all these pylons I've put up over here, I actually didn't have one close enough to the obelisk to power that and get the research point. So just a quick pause for the cause there to take care of that obelisk, and there it is. Got the research point, and we're good to go on bonus objectives.
The Zerg seek to overwhelm our base. I will fulfill my call. I
Base is under attack.
The enemy closes.
we must not. I will be.
Of course, that time when I wasn't ready for it, they came from the left
Mineral field
and
depleted.
completely kicked some ass. So, no big deal. Just to be safe, I'm going to rebuild some turrets over here.
Mineral field depleted.
But from this point on, I believe I just pretty much totally crush ass and, you know, walk around the map and just do whatever I want to do.
My burdens weigh heavily.
You have not enough minerals.
You address me. I will fulfill my calling. Honor.
Mineral field depleted.
We must not. Higher. Subdue my burdens. I will erase the deed, the second over my tendril. I sense death and joy. The Zerg are coming.
We cannot hold.
I am here in the shadows. My burdens weigh heavily.
return to serve.
Illus Shozak Maknul. I will erase the demons of the past. You address me.
I return to serve.
I will erase the demons.
Your warriors have engaged the enemy.
Shozak Maknul.
Kind of a close call there with Zeratul. He's easy to lose track of when you have a big, just clump of, giant Protoss robots. But remember, he has to survive, so you can't just have him charging in there and getting his shit killed. So that had happened the last time we were up here too. So a couple of close calls, but I was able to save him in time.
I return to serve.
The third Overmind tendril. I sense satisfaction in a plan set in motion long ago. And fear of the future. I will erase the demons of the past.
The enemy closes.
Our base falls under a shadow. The Zerg will attack soon.
Base is under attack. Base is under attack.
The fourth Overmind tendril. I sense an end. I must go to the Overmind cortex to understand.
Greetings, brother. I speak to you from the beyond.
Tassadar. But you died, slaying this cursed Overmind.
I have never tasted death, Zeratul, nor shall I. But that is a tale for another time. I have come to tell you of this creature's courage.
Courage? It was an abomination.
Not always. The Zerg were altered. A single overriding purpose was forced upon them. The destruction of our people. The Overmind was formed with thought and reason, but not free will. It screamed and raged within the prison of its own mind.
Who did this? Why?
I know not. But the Overmind found a way to resist its all-consuming directive. It created a chance, a hope of salvation. The Queen of Blades.
Madness.
Only she can free the Zerg from slavery, and in so doing, save all that is from the flame.
I do not understand, brother.
Forget what you know, Zeratul.
Overmind saw a vision. The end of all things. And now, you must see it too. No. This vision. I cannot bear it. Stop.
The Queen of Blades, the key to salvation? Look out, Devatron. Things are really heating up in the Prophecy questline. Echoes of the future. Stay tuned for next episode and the exciting finale to the Prophecy.